Welcome to Filtered, an exhibition that examines the way we absorb information and communicate with one another. We begin with an installation called Google Optical Spectrum by artist Anne-Marie Dumichel. The viewer is surrounded by color, implying our everyday lives are saturated with images and technology. Dumichel created these photographs by typing the names of colors into Google image search and using the first 100 results to generate the average for each color. Here, Google literally filters our experiences. As we move through the space, we see an installation in the middle of the room called Long Distance by Christos Pantieras. Both sides of a 2-week email correspondence from a gay hookup platform are impressed onto wax-coated paper. Bound together, the sheets unspool from the typewriter in an undulating scroll, creating a visual measurement of this dialogue. By monumentalizing online traces in physical space, Pantieras considers how intimacy and human connection are navigated in a digital world. This exhibition explores the internal structure of various forms of communication, exposing the strengths and weaknesses of these technologies. In turn, our interpretation of media is linked to personal bias, filtered by our language, histories, memories, values, and beliefs. The series Digital Patterns by Art Price looks like computer chips, an emerging technology in the 60s when these were executed. Made of polyester resin on particle board, they mimic the patterns behind digital coding in early computer processes. Next, we have an installation by Farouk Hasfaouf, an Iraqi-born Canadian artist whose work considers culture, memory, and identity within the context of exile. Hasfaouf recalls his homeland in these prints, and meditates on the physical and cultural destruction that has taken place in the region, as experienced via his television set in Canada. On the back wall is another installation by Christos Pantieras called I Miss Talking to You. Words from an email of regret are carved into wax bricks, and the structure is a metaphor for an emotional wall constructed between two people during online communication. Next, artist Peter Usuanza looked to works by 20th century abstract artists and asked, how would these paintings look if created from my perspective, that of someone who is both Black and deaf? Experimenting with computer pixelation, these works reflect his personal color lens and diversify art history. As we walk into this room, you see a large installation of textile work by conceptual artist Greta Grip, who looks at the relationship between craft and technology. To make these works, Grip transformed her knitting machine by removing its original brain and replacing it with a USB port, filtering her knitting patterns through the computer. Glitches resulting from this process became part of the work. And the other artist featured in this room is Craig Commanda, an Anishinaabe Algonquin artist from Kitagenzimi, Anishinaabe, who examines the consequences of colonialism and the adaptability and survival of Indigenous culture in a digital world. In his films, Commanda merges traditional drumming with his contemporary music practice and speaks Anishinaabemowin, mediums that are essential in the transmission of cultural knowledge. In his beading, Commanda combines traditional techniques with contemporary designs. The beaded QR code in The Coded Scroll links to Commanda's poem Circles, while his other beaded works showcase unique geometrical designs. In the next room, we see a 3-part mural and sound installation by artists Sarah Mecca Abdurrahman and Lorena Phineas. As young Black Canadians, these two artists have common feelings of unease, numbness, and disconnect in relation to harmful media coverage of their countries of family origin. And they ask, what are the impacts of growing up immersed in this westernized digital culture? The artists describe their co-creation of this installation as creating a submerged experience of the diasporic consciousness and presenting the viewer with the various stages of Black existence. The Life of a Building by artists Greta Grip and Lee Jones is in Ottawa Art Gallery's Mackenzie King lobby. This knitting machine gathers data from OEG visitor interactions on our website and on-site in the building itself, knitting a tactile visualization of ongoing visitor statistics. Linked to digital platforms and sensors in the gallery, The machine responds to each visitor with a knitted full circular row. Growing longer and piling up as each interaction is documented, the knitted creation will be a record of OEG activity over the course of 1 year. In an era of COVID-19 and political upheaval, understanding media is paramount. We must thus remain critical, recognizing the various filters at play as we rapidly pivot in our forms of connection.